How's it going, everybody? Welcome. YouTube Live. This is yours truly, Rama Screen, covering movies, TV, and entertainment. Sorry it took me a while to finally get home and do this live review of tonight's new Star Trek Discovery episode. The traffic was so bad coming from the Freeway 10. It was like standstill. I don't know, there must have been a crash. So my GPS says that it would take a couple of hours for me to get home. So I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to find a local Starbucks, do my video editing there, upload some stuff, and then watch the episode there at Starbucks, and then go home and then do this. So right after I get home, I fix myself some dinner. So that took me a while too, and then now I'm ready to give you guys this review of mine. Now, heads up, just like with all my TV reviews or most of them, and many of my episode recaps. Generally, I'll be spilling some spoilers. So, spoiler alert. This review is mainly for those of you, my fellow Star Trek Discovery fans out there, who have also watched tonight's new episode. Excuse me. I bit my tongue earlier this week, so I'm still sore. So I apologize if I sound like I have some kind of a speech impediment. Okay, so the title of this episode, it's season 2, episode 12, which means we're only gonna have 2 episodes left until the season 2 finale. And I tweeted earlier, I was like, man, it sucks that the season finale is around the corner. 2 episodes left, because I don't know what I would do with my Thursday nights after the season 2 finale. We're gonna have to wait a full year, or how many ever months for the season 3 to arrive. So from now till then, every Thursday night I'll be like, I guess I'll be twiddling my thumbs. I don't know. If you have recommendation on what to watch on Thursday night, um, after season 2 finale of Star Trek Discovery, let me know. I would love to know what to watch until season 3 arrives. The title of tonight's episode is Through the Valley of Shadows. Now, if that sounds familiar, um, a lot of us, I used to go to church, not as often anymore, but there's this Bible verse, Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You get the idea. You can look it up yourself. And there's a part or a verse in that chapter, Psalm 23, that says, Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Uh, Ever since I was a kid, I was like, okay, wow. So you go through the valley, but not just any valley, valley of shadow. Wait. But not just shadow. It's the valley of shadow of death. so so it's not just the valley of death, which is already intimidating, but it's death's shadow, the shadow of death. It's fascinating. So there are 3 plot lines happening in tonight's episode. 3 arcs, if you will. One of them involves Captain Pike and the Klingons and Time Crystal. The second one involves Michael Burnham and Spock, and one of the crew members from the Shenzhou ship, the one that Captain Philippa Giorgio led before Michael Burnham joined Discovery. And so the third arc involves this love heartache drama that continues between Dr. Hugh, and Stamets. And the unlikely mediator on that one is Tig Notaro. I can never pronounce her last name correctly. I interviewed Technotaro um recently at a Paramount Pictures event, so make sure you go watch my interview with Technotaro. She plays engineer an engineer named Jet Reno. That's the name of Technotaro's character, and she mediates between this not lover's quarrel, but lover's drama, if you will, between Hugh and Stamets. So those are the three arcs, the three plots. And I'm looking at my notes here. Let me give you the context for each. Uh, you'll see full cast members, Tignotaro, and I'm trying to remember the guy's name that from the Shenzhou ship. Gamut? Oh, man. Yeah, it's gonna come up to me. It's gonna come to me. Okay. All right. So let's start with the Captain Pike storyline. Okay, so the episode starts out with there's a signal again showing up. Now, by this time, after what transpired last week's episode, in last week's episode, with the whole Michael Burnham's mom getting sucked out back into the universe again, back to the future again. Uh, I know, pun intended. So she wants to like get to the bottom of Leland, right? In section 31. And Leland, of course, is got embodied by freaking AI named Control. That becomes this pretty much this season's nemesis, this season's villain. It's not an actual human or maybe alien body. It's an AI, which makes it harder to defeat. And he has this ability to take the form of just about anybody, including tonight's individual that we'll get to. So freaking Michael wants that, but Captain Pike's like, no, 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 we gotta go with the task at hand, figuring this out. And that leads to the revelation that apparently the Klingons have the time crystals, um, and because there's this awkwardness between Chancellor Laurel and Tyler, or Voke in Tyler, however you want to call it or see it. Uh, Pike is like, you know what? I volunteer. I'm gonna go and do this thing. And so that leads to him meeting with the timekeepers. And the revelation there is that turns out this Klingon named Tavanik, I believe, he is the same exact baby boy, or the baby son of Voke and Laurel's, the one that they send off to Bareth. And at that one episode where she pretends like she has cut her own baby's head off, like, whoa, that's gruesome there. But it was just a ploy. The son is well, and now he's all grown up. And I was like, Captain Pike is like, whoa, that was just a few months ago. How did you grow up so fast? Obviously because of the time thing. They show this thing where they're watering a plant and the plant just grows in a matter of seconds. And that leads to, because Captain Pike wants to take the time crystals, and Tavanik, I can't remember his name, but he says like there's a cost to it. And that cost is Captain Pike seeing his fate, what happens to him in the future. Now, remember, Star Trek Discovery is set, I believe, about 10 years before the events in Star Trek, the original series. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that my memory is sometimes a bit shoddy lately because I'm getting older. But I believe that is what the producers have said. This show at least 10 years before uh, Captain Kirk and the gang, if you will. Um, and those of you, my fellow Star Trek fans out there, would know exactly what happens to Captain Pike's fate. Um, in history of Star Trek franchise, Captain Pike ends up disfigured, scarred, and of course stuck in a wheelchair. This, of course, high tech wheelchair. Um, Obviously different fate than the Captain Pike in the Kelvin timeline in the J.J. Abrams movies. Have you seen those? He got part of the massacre in that one shootout. So uh, that's what Captain Pike sees in this vision of him in the future, like how exactly that he becomes disfigured, and that scares him to his core. And I don't blame him. I mean, like, holy crap! When I saw that, I was like, "Geez." As much as I know that there's a part of us as inherently as humans that are curious at the very least, that want to know what happens in our future. But what if we don't like what we're seeing? See, that would give us nightmares. I'd be like, whoa, really? I don't know if I want that. Um, and for the first time in a while, or maybe never, that tonight we see Captain Pike really shook up, like really. Captain Pike is this cool, chill dude, right? He's this calm-headed, and even during confrontations, like I said in my previous reviews, when people like throw problems at him, he would listen to them. But at one point, he would say, "Okay, okay, okay, that's enough problems. Give me solutions." You know, I hear your problems now. Give me solutions. Give me something that we can do to fix this. That's the kind of guy Captain Pike is. He's not the kind of guy who is just easily like um, shaken like that. But man, you see him just, he falls and and he screams. That's like, wow, you're not used to that Captain Pike. Or Captain Pike under that. He's usually cool under pressure, but man, he is just panicking that after he sees what happens to him. And so that so at that moment, there's a part of me is like, okay, just don't go with the crystal, all right? Like, because the Tevanic says like your fate will be sealed if you do. I would not blame, by that point, I would not blame Captain Pike if he just like, you know what, screw this. I don't want to be disfigured. I don't want to be like this, you know, thing, rolling around. I would not blame him if he just walks away. I'd be like, hey, the guy's human. He's scared shitless. Um, but that at that point he takes a breath and he remembers his oath as a leader. It's like I'm my life is a life of service and whatnot, and there you go. Um, my thoughts about that particular plot line is that my respect for Captain Pike deepens. Whatever respect that I already have for him, it gets even deeper now. Um, the guy is just a poster boy for what a great leadership is. And he sets the bar really high, obviously, from tonight's episode. Um, Knowing what he knows about what could happen to him in the future, he still does it anyway. That is a characteristic of a hero. Um, but throughout this season, including the past few recent episodes, we also learned that, hey, of course, in the future, all sentient living, all sentient life will get annihilated. But as Spock said, I think last week's episode, I believe, as Spock said, like we it's still up to us to decide our future. That may be already a picture of, they may already be a picture of it. There may already be a picture of it, but we still get to have a say on that. So he says like, what we do now has the power to determine our future. That's what Spock said. So for a man of logic, is for a man of logic, he has enough faith in in each other, in themselves as a crew, to potentially alter what has been predicted about the future. But back to Captain Pike, though. You know, he could have, like, for example, he could have sent. That's a big ship, right? Discovery is a massive ship, and it's a beautiful ship. There's a couple of shots in this episode where just like it gives you that aerial view of Discovery, like it always does. Beautiful. It's like you got thousands of crew members there. Low level ranking to high level ranking. There's people that he trusts more than others. There's people with security clearance, perhaps, or whatever. There's people who are there, are really experienced and skilled. He could have sent any one of those, the skilled ones, the high ranking lines, like, hey, go down there and get those, that time crystal for me, But now he is like, hey, I'm gonna go out there, man. I know you argue your argument probably like, hey, Rama, that's the show, like the original series and and Voyager and the Next Generation. The captain often goes, Picard goes with Riker, and Kirk goes to Spock to the planets themselves. They don't send like some obscure characters, other crew members. Sure, it's a big ship, but it's always been about the guys on the bridge. Yeah, sure, you can make that argument. Definitely, it makes sense. But still, though, man, that says a lot. It says a lot about Captain Pike when he says, like, you know what, I'll do this. I'll do this. I can kind of relate to that in a bit because I'm the kind of guy who's like, who I don't know if you're like me, but it's this philosophy of like, if you want to get things done, do it yourself. If you want to get things done right, definitely do it yourself. Now that's not always true, but that's not always true for every case. But yeah, but I can relate to that. Um, and lastly, before we move on to the second arc, it's kind of cool seeing this baby son of Laurel's and Vogue, just now all grown up, and he is like wise. He's like knowledgeable. Now, the thing is, coming into this episode tonight, I was like, I had my reservations about it because, and I mentioned this to you guys, we've gone through the Klingon arc in the season one with the Klingon War and the whole Vogue thing. I was like, and like the majority of episodes in season one were dedicated to, or at least feature Klingons. So I'm like, really? Oh, why do we have to go back occasionally to Klingons? Can we just focus on the thing? The AI, the control. Um, tonight the AI, the control has to do with Michael Burnham and Spock. They could have easily just like make the episode tonight just be about that. It's like, why do we have to go back to Klingons again? The Klingons are so annoying. At least this Klingon, and not not Wolf. Worf. I'm sorry. So I'm like, oh man, I was not really looking forward to tonight's episode. But I must say, seeing that baby boy now grown up, his name is Stevanik, I believe, being wise and like he cautions Pike and that he's a timekeeper. Man, that I guess the writers really want to give that Laurel and Vogue's story a proper or a nice conclusion. That oh my God, they are our son has a name now and he's a timekeeper. I'm like, oh, he's made us proud. So it's like a hard, lovey dovey, heartwarming, lovey dovey thing um, between Tyler or Vogue and Laurel. And so I get it. I get it. I totally get it. I guess you gotta know what happens to him right before the season two finale or season two ends. I totally get it. Okay, so hopefully this is it. If season three arrives, hopefully we only get at least one or two episodes of about Klingon. The rest, please move on or move forward to other stuff or other pursuit or adventure. So okay, so those are my thoughts about the first arc here. The second arc or the second plot line involves Stamets and Hugh and Jet Reno. So Stamets and Hugh obviously are still being awkward around each other. Or Stamets even more so for Stamets, because Stamets really, really, you can tell he really aches for Hugh. Like, oh, why can't things be just the way they were before he died? Um, and it's pissing me off that we can't be together or that he doesn't want us to be together. So you can tell that it hurts Stamets more. Whereas Hugh, I think Hugh is in a place where he's just okay now. We're just chilling with everybody, except of course with Stamets because that gets awkward. And Jet Reno comes in. They have this, they're eating the cafeteria. By the way, the cafeteria is look, the cafeteria in my high school looked even better than that. Okay, now I'm not talking about the whole ordering of the food because that thing is of course is fantastic. In Star Trek Discovery, you just say it and it'll show up. Freaking, I want ice cream covered with nuts and chocolate on them and strawberries, like, and then the machine will make it for you. So that is fantastic. I'm talking about like the setting and the seatings, so like wow, and it's so tight and so close to each other. I remember watching the Next Generation, and their lounge is a lot nicer, and it's got a bar and everything. So, but that's why it's called the Next Generation. It's like way way later on. I guess this is 10 years before Star Trek the original series. So they got crappy setup for the cafeteria. It's junior high. And so Jet Reno sits down and she's pretty much meddles in the business of Stamets and Hugh. And my first response to that was like, whoa, this Jet Reno lady does not have boundaries. Come on now. Who are you to be like, you know, getting yourself in the middle of these two? But later on in the last episode, uh, Jet Reno reveals her intentions to Hugh in that, like, hey, you gotta make this right with Stamets. Work it out, damn it. Because Stamets works with me in the engineering, and I want his head to be in the game. I want his head to be in the zone, really focus in on saving sentient life from being, or keeping it from getting destroyed. And I can't have him be distracted by you. So when she says that, I'm like, okay, now I'm on your side. Because when during on the or at the cafeteria when you were meddling in, I was like, I'm not that time. I'm not on your side. But now when he says it to you, why hey, all this thing gotta you gotta work this out. Yes, I'm on your side. I agree with you, Jet Reno. And Jet Reno shares this story about her wife and that her wife died during the Klingon War. Here's the thing: she, that it's always awkward or not. I don't know if awkward is the word for it. It's odd. I guess it feels odd when somebody shares with you a story of their loved one, and it's a nice, lovey-dovey story, or maybe a humorous one, and then halfway through the story, she hits you with that, oh yeah, my loved one, she passed away or he passed away. That's when you're like turns from smile to like, oh, oh no, I'm so sorry. That's what happens to Hugh tonight. It's like, he's like, oh, that's nice. Oh, where's that conversation with people like, like, oh, nice. So where's he now? Where's he, at a social gathering or whatever? Where is he? I want to shake his hands. Like, oh, he passed on. I was like, oh, damn. I was like, I feel guilty, guilty for like being stoked there for 1 second. So that's funny that it happens to you, because I remember the feeling of that, having been in that position before. So it's nice to see Notaro back again as Jet Reno. Apparently, she's a recurring role in the season 2. I don't know if she's gonna get upgraded to series regular in season 3, but that would be nice. But even if that doesn't happen, just recurring role alone is a ray of sunshine because I like her. I like her as a comedian and as this actress. I like her in Instant Family and other things that or other gigs that she's done. Um, the character itself, Jet Reno, though, to me, it's a love and hate. Like tonight, it's love, and I was like, she is right in that. It's like, hey, you got to work this out because this guy, I'm teaming with this guy. He's part of my team in the engineering, and I need to I need his head to be in the game. So I love that. That's the love. The hate part sometimes, the meddling in thing with the cafeteria, and there's previous episodes when she kind of inserts herself, in discussions then like that she doesn't belong in, and she sometimes, um what's the word I'm looking for? Sometimes it's just says things, I guess, without considering the context of whatever it is that happens at hand. She's just like, whoa. So that goes with what I said about inserting herself. Like, hey, it's like you're interrupting and whatever. That's Jet Reno. I don't know if I don't know if she has that sense of awareness, if she's self-aware of that, or maybe she knows, but she doesn't care anyway. so so it's a love-hate relationship with Jet Reno for me. But Tig Notaro, love her all the way. It's cool to see her back. And lastly, before we move on to the third arc, I just want to say about Stamets and Hugh. I think it's fascinating to see if Hugh disagrees with Jet Reno, it's like, hey, we can't be together again. Then maybe Hugh needs to make that clearer for Stamets, or at least help Stamets get to a place where he would be fine with it. Because right now, I think Stamets is left frustrated and just upset. Like, why? Why can't we be like together like before? Like, why do you have to push me away? Maybe if Hugh wants things not to be like they were, he needs to make that clearer, and he has to like have that talk with Stamets, and it helps him to like, hey, even though we can't be together, that doesn't mean we can't hang out or we can be friends or we can doesn't mean we can't listen to each other's problems. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna help you to get to that place where you can be full and independent too. That you don't have to view yourself as a half side or a second half or a better half of me. Um, so yeah, I think that would be the wisest thing if that is what Hugh wants. If Hugh wants to get back together again, then voila, of course that would fix the problem in an instant. But if Hugh doesn't want that, then that is what needs to happen. So yeah, fan, pretty cool second arc. Now the third one, the last one here, involves Michael Burnham, Spock, and this guy named Gant. I got his name on the screen. So Gan is part of the Shenzhou ship before Michael Burnham transfers to Discovery. And turns out that Gant ends up with Section 31, the entire Section 31, that, for lack of a better word or description, for lack of a better description, Section 31 was attacked by Control, by the AI. Everybody dies except Gant. So they take Gant onto the aboard the ship, or the shuttle, if you will, and so Gant helps them out to take control of this, big ship that they're on. And at one point, Spock gets separated because he has to, I guess, manually overdrive the computer, while Gant is with Michael Burnham. And during the course of their conversation, that's when it clicks with Michael Burnham. Is like, oh my god, this is not Gant. This is not my old friend. This is the AI. And suddenly Gant's voice changes to something computer-like, and it's fantastic. It sounds like it's so altered and so creepy, and so, like, how it is with computer voice, or AI robotic voice. So that's pretty much the gist of the context here of what happens in this third arc. Um, and if there's, of course, there's a big fight between among the three of them, and that's fantastic. Always fun to see an action sequence. I was worried when I watched that. I was worried that Spock separating himself away again. It's like, oh my god, just like, the previous episodes when they when Commander Aram dies. So I'm uh, by that point I was worried like we might see a situation where Spock would have to sacrifice himself so that Gant and Michael Burnham could survive. I was like, no, I was like, no, don't go too far away, Spock. Don't go too far away. Why do you have to volunteer yourself? Um, so that's one response that I have. The other one is with regards to Gant. Man, that must have hurt like a mugger for Michael, man, because the revelation of Gant being not Gant but the Control or the AI, that means Gant is dead. Because the AI calls him expired. So it's like losing your friend again twice in a span of, I don't know, less than an hour. And that's gotta hurt. That's gotta hurt. And you can tell from Michael Burnham's face after the whole confrontation or conflict ends. It's like, oh my god, I never actually had my friend with me again. And it's like, yeah, it's like losing my friend twice, pretty much. So yeah, man, that's heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking. Um, it's fun also to see the development or the progression or the evolution of Spock and Michael Burnham. In previous episodes, they clashed. They, even when they're playing that freaking four-dimensional chess, whatever you call it. um, but in this episode tonight, they actually take the advice of their mother, the hologram that showed up on hologram, Amanda Grayson, to take care of each other. Take care of each other, you two. I love you both. So they take that advice to heart tonight. Um, you might see it as Spock like meddling in. It's like a Spock is not really, because it was supposed to be Michael Burnham doing this reconnaissance, not Michael Burnham and Spock. But Spock was like, "Hey, I'm gonna have your back." So you might see that as like, "Whoa, Spock, what are you doing? Are you saying that you can't trust a woman to take care of himself? Freaking Michael Burnham can, pretty much, she can defend herself. She's more than capable." So you can see it that way, or you can see it as what Amanda Grayson states. Like, these two siblings need to take care of each other. Um, and that is what transpires in this third uh, plot line. And that's nice. It's cool. I have siblings, and I always have their back. They all have my back. So it's nice to see an episode for at least where Spock and Michael Burnham finally looks like a team or a tandem. And lastly, um, regarding Control, holy crap, man! As I implied earlier, this is a hard to defeat nemesis. He's a computer. He can hack to anything. He wants that sphere, that data so bad, but the data pretty much locks itself inside the Discovery ship. So bad that next week's episode, or by the end of tonight's episode, we see Control, or the that AI it takes over like about 30, I want to say 30 Section 31 ships, and they're all like armed and ready to attack Discovery. Holy, like, whoa! So it's gonna be one hell of a battle, and obviously from the preview for next week's episode, Captain Pike was gonna get help from his old ship, Enterprise. Remember, because Enterprise was away during the Klingon Wars. Now Enterprise comes back, from their mission, and so Enterprise, I think, takes a break, but Captain Pike gets loaned. He's on loan to Star Trek Discovery. So I think by next week's episode we'll see, Enterprise crew teaming up with the Discovery to to beat down this freaking Control, man. Because, man, um, I don't know how they're gonna pull it off. I really don't know. I think Control is a powerful being, and this is a formidable foe. Finally, that some a villain that challenges the Discovery, to actually get that brain working extra to figure out how they can beat him. And looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. Obviously, from tonight's episode, when Gant is fighting Michael Burnham, like hand to hand combat, hand to hand combat, physical stuff, and she shoots Gant, and you can tell, you see the hole, but the hole, starts fixing itself. It's like, oh man, so it's gonna be really difficult to defeat this guy. But I'm looking forward to see how they are gonna do it. We only have 2 episodes left. Oh man, this sucks. I'm gonna be so sad, so sad. Um, but that's the reality of it. So stay tuned again for next Thursday when I do another live stream review of next week's new episode of Star Trek. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Those of you who are still awake. And as always, subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Tell your grandmas and your friends and your parents and your niece and nephews about this channel, and press that like button, ring that bell. And if you can help support this channel, please do so at patreon.com/ramascreen. That's patreon.com/ramascreen. Thanks, you guys. And as always, let's rock this.